back.
Welcome back. How can you even wear a yellow beanie at this point?
Man, oh, it's so good. This one is it came as a gift, and it's a Xenia cashmere beanie,
Whoa.
which
But it's been branded by Ashton. That's the
that is
point.
okay. I'm taking it back. I'm taking it back just like what are those movements where you take back your power, where you take back the thing that is offensive to you?
Reappropriate appropriation is when it gets stolen.
I'm reappropriating the yellow beanie. Yeah,
Reappropriating.
I'm reappropriating yellow beanies for everyone. They no
All right.
longer belong on the head of an angry, lightly overweight surf journalist.
Possibly homeless looking. Um, how do you feel? You know what I decided as the weather's gotten colder here this past week in Southern California, I've decided that corduroy is highly underrated.
Oh, corduroy is great on a especially I feel on a like jacket or a pants is still rough, I feel. Like the swish swish corduroy pant. Are you making swishy sounds?
No, I'm not making swishy sounds and I'm warm.
I mean, that's great then. Like if they eliminated the swishy sound, I still have some PTSD from like going to kindergarten in my or first grade in my corduroy pants and that's as you walk.
Maybe your pants were baggier back then because I don't think my pants touch at all.
Yeah,
Like
it
there's
was
no, yeah, no inner thigh touching on mine.
I think it was a big corduroy bell bottoms is probably what I was in.
Corduroy is warm, it's comfortable. I don't get to wear it throughout the year, and then this season rolls around, I put them on. I'm like, man, these are denim is overrated, corduroy is underrated.
I tell you what, the coldness of Southern California, I'm either getting, I feel that that's just what it is. I'm getting weaker and weaker year on year, even though I'm drinking my ag1.com/surf, drinkag1.com/surf. That's fortifying me. Without that, I think I wouldn't leave the house when it's like, it's sunny, it's beautiful outside, and it's like 62 degrees. And I'm like bundling up in every piece of snow clothes I have.
I like it. I love the bundle up. I agree with you. Like I'm probably less I do less outdoors now as I get older because maybe it does keep me indoors, but I love the bundle up.
It really is great, but I honestly go outside and I shiver and I
Hmm.
start the car and then I look at the temperature and it's 61 degrees. I'm like, oh, oops.
Scott Bass has a great rule to live by that I think a friend of his actually told him, and it's about water temperature. And you never surf in water lower than your age
Oh, I
In
like it,
Fahrenheit. So
man.
I
So you
think
get up. So we're getting, I mean, shoot, we still got a little time left here of actual Southern California surfing, but it's going to be in the rearview mirror real quick.
I know, and I think that's actually you could actually maybe add 10 to it. So
Okay.
like because in that with that analogy you would or with that rule you would not surf in 55-degree water once you turn 56. But
Yes.
that's too old to be surfing in 55-degree water anyways, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe you add 10.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's why Matt Warshaw only surfs on tropical vacays,
Exactly. Yeah.
following the rule.
Well, hey, we need to let people know. Go get Noble Rot. If you were wondering where Noble Rot was this week, it was Monday, Tuesday, and you're like, why is the grit feed not feeding me Noble Rot? It's because it is on its own podcast feed.
Man, I realize that when things go on to their own feed, little babies, little baby chicklets spread their wings and then fall to the ground pretty quick. It's hard for people to find things, as it is for me. Like I don't actively seek out stuff. I feel if I like something and then it goes away, oh, well, I guess it went away. But
Yeah.
it's there, people. Noble Rot is there. Find it. How do they
We
find it easily?
just search Noble Rot in Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. I know somebody said I can't find it. And so I sent them a direct link and they were able to link to it, no problem. But I think when it's brand new in an app, the algorithm doesn't prioritize it, or for whatever reason, maybe it doesn't show up in searches. So I guess what I'll do is in today's show notes, I will post direct links to find it on those two platforms. And then hopefully that'll juice the algorithm or something.
Great. Well, it's there, people. It has not gone away. The noble rot is as noble and rotten as it ever was.
Strong show this week, I thought.
It was a good one. I liked it too.
I got off air with you and I was like, man, that felt good. Felt like
Yeah.
we actually delivered some important information.
Go listen. New year, new me, live now.
Important information from the future. And for anybody who is questioning whether or not we actually came from the future, you asked me in the show, what is Bitcoin at? And I said $95,000. And then after we got off the air, I looked at my phone and it was at 91 or 92. Yesterday it hit 95.
I mean, of course it did. Of course. We are the perpetual 5 days ahead, or maybe even a couple months ahead. Depends. I like this micro time travel is great. You don't like scare people. Your looks don't change that much in that, the 2 month to 5 day. So we can present as normal, but with great new information.
Exactly. The butterfly effect is so subtle nobody notices.
It's perfect. Yep. We
Um,
can change. We probably do change stuff accidentally.
exactly, but nobody notices.
Nobody. Yeah, they would have. That's just what it was.
Well, here's a listener feedback. I said, David and Chaz, this is for the grit. First
Hold
off,
on.
okay,
Oh,
I can hear you fine.
this mic is not plugged in. I just
So we're just running off ambient audio.
Yeah, but I don't know why it's.
It sounds fine. Leave it.
You sure? You sure we don't want to mic up here?
I mean, I don't know that it could sound any better.
Okay. Something feels like it happened to the mic. Okay, mic is done. Looks like.
Is it like a broken piece inside that you can
It
hear?
looks like the port something. Yeah, the port got jacked.
Hmm.
Yep. I have another one though.
Okay.
A little Rode shotgun, which I'll bring into rotation next time.
Okay. Listener email. David and Chaz is for the grit. Please forgive me. I have sinned and brought great shame upon my family. Even after the question of leaving shopping carts in the parking lot has been beaten to death and answered years ago, I have not been able to bring myself to leave a cart in the far reaches of the lot for another human to clean up behind me. Until a few days ago. Upon leaving the store and returning the cart to the corral just outside the front door, I was thoroughly dressed down and shamed by the parking lot collector guy because I was taking away his job and outside music listening time. I now realize the error of my ways and will be firing all future shopping carts into the bushes at the far end of the lot. Thank you. Number two, growing up in New Jersey and having a petroleum distribution as my first job, I believe the happiness that you see on the full service attendant faces is a reflection, a combination of fumes, weed, and if there is a convenience store, whippets. And then number three, I was laughing my ass off, raking leaves, listening to the breakdown of instruments that are acceptable to play naked. And I was wondering if you guys have a ruling on the tuba. Thanks for the laughs, gentlemen. Keep work. Chris from New York.
The tuba is I think the tuba probably is one. I don't know though. It's kind of nice, right? Like you wear the tuba, so it's almost like pantless clothing.
The tuba feels like a fat person to me. If instruments were humans, the tuba is just a fat person. And
It's true, except yeah, except picture a naked fat dude playing the tuba, and it feels like it works.
not a good look, not sexy.
It's
There's
true.
nothing sexy about a tuba.
Was the
The sound it
defining
makes isn't sexy.
burp, burp, burp. What
Sounds like a
about
fart.
somebody DM'd me, I think, playing the saw. Remember sometimes people play the saw? The playing the naked saw playing.
That is hilarious. Dangerous.
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 Yep.
We should also do a ranking on,
Dangerous.
well, okay, we got a bunch of rankings then. Rankings work good on Instagram for making
Yes.
Instagram reels. So we should really focus on rankings, but certainly do ranking of dangerous instruments. And then the one I was thinking was not instruments that people play as instruments.
Oh, that's a good one too. We need both, but also the most dangerous because we identified the bigger saxophone, not the alto sax, but whatever the
Baritone.
baritone saxophone is dangerous. A lot of clipping potential going on down there, a lot of snapping. Saw, definitely dangerous. What are some other ones? I mean, I think timpani would be real dangerous. Don't, but you're like just sitting right there, like wailing right near the bits.
I think sitting is kind of less sexy than standing when it comes to playing instruments naked.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
the tuba, I think, requires you to sit, maybe.
I know you could stand on the tuba. The tubas are in marching bands.
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
Yeah.
As I'm thinking about instruments that are not instruments, uh, overturned bucket.
Yeah.
I've seen incredible drummers playing overturned buckets, like in Santa Monica, Third
Like
Street
street
Promenade.
performances.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
incredible. Better than a lot of other drummers that I've seen on actual drum sets.
Yeah, I like it. I've also seen people play. I mean, I guess it's an instrument at that point, but when like somebody like stringing like I don't even know what it is, like a piece of wire, just
Mhm.
stringing wire between anything. But at that point, let's be honest, that's an instrument.
That I think that still qualifies.
But that's an instrument because it doesn't have another usage. The saw is a saw, the bucket is a
True.
bucket.
Okay.
I think wire between whatever it is officially an instrument at that point. That's its only purpose.
All right. Well, we'll work on these lists or not. Or I guess if people submit things to us, it becomes a list on its own, and then I'll collate them, collect
Yes.
them. Um, you'd be glad to know that coming off of Elon Musk's AI not acknowledging you as a surf journalist,
Yes. Oh,
ChatGPT corrects the record.
oh, sweet.
Mr. Misto on Instagram submitted the question to ChatGPT of who are the top 20 surf journalists ranked by quality.
Wow. This is big time.
Big time. And this identifies ChatGPT as being far superior AI.
Let me hear. So ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got
1
an
through
actual ranking.
20. Yeah.
Okay, I like this. I like where this is going.
Number 1, Nick Carroll.
Yeah, good.
And it gave a little summary for each person. It said Nick Carroll, legendary journalist with deep technical knowledge and decades of experience. His writing combines storytelling and surf expertise. Number 2, Sean Doherty, revered for his insightful and heartfelt profiles, as well as in environmental activism and surf journalism. Number 3, Matt Warshaw, author of The History of Surfing and founder of the Encyclopedia of Surfing, a definitive voice on history and culture. Number 4, Steve Pesman, founding editor of the Surfer's Journal, known for elevating surf journalism to a more artful and reflective medium. Number 5, Sam George, former
Ooh,
Surfer
yeah.
magazine editor and
Nice.
filmmaker with a talent for blending passion and knowledge in his work. Number 6, 𝗪𝗲,
Wow.
controversial and witty. He's a polarizing but undeniably influential figure in surf media, particularly through Beachgrit.
Wow. Number 6, right? It's clawing at Sam George. Maybe this is why I do so much Sam George stuff. I just feel that I can take him down a peg, or maybe
Yep.
lift him up a peg.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Number 7, Derek Riley, co-founder of Stab and Beachgrit, known for his sharp humor and distinctive voice in the surf culture critique. Number 8, Ben Mundy, prolific writer for Surfline and other outlets, balancing humor and analysis in his work. Number 9, Brad Malekian, known for deep introspective surf writing and delves into the philosophy and psychology of surfers. And then number 10, Jamie Brisick, former pro surfer turned writer, bringing a poetic lens to surf storytelling.
I really like it. I feel that is a fine list. This is a list I can get behind. Who's the money behind Chat GPT again? Is it
Microsoft, maybe?
yeah. Okay, so
Okay.
whoever that is, whichever billionaire owns Chat GPT is the better billionaire than Musk.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Also, I saw a meme one time. It was like, Microsoft is a wild thing to name your company.
Yeah, Microsoft. I never thought about that until now.
As Bill Gates, like creating something new that's going to define
Microsoft.
his life, and he
Yes.
names it Microsoft.
That's amazing. I never ever thought it was so ubiquitous by the time I even started thinking about brand names that, oh, it's Microsoft. I never paused to think about each word individually.
It makes a lot of sense because he's making, presumably there was microchips involved. And so he's thinking like, we're making these tiny things and we're making a software. So it's microchips and software. Let's combine the two.
Microsoft.
But there has to be zero sexuality in your life to not realize that that would be the ultimate insult that the jock at school would burn you with.
The problem is, though, I just realized it right now for the first time in my life. So what does that say about me?
Well, it was ubiquitous. That was the thing. You just don't even think that, Chevron is an actual
Chevron.
design. You
Yeah.
just think it's a brand. You don't think of the
Yes.
design of a Chevron or
Ooh,
whatever.
this is a good one. Is the brand names that you only later discovered in life were actual words that, like, with dictionary definitions, not just the brand name of X, Y, or Z.
Like Target
Yeah. I
is
mean, did you think,
is an actual bullseye.
yes. I like Chevron though, because Chevron, I think for a long time I did, was just Chevron was that gas. But
Yeah,
no,
nobody.
is a
Well, I mean,
Chevron.
there's probably adults who don't know what a Chevron is.
That's true. It's a good word, Chevron.
It is a great word, actually. Good
Yeah.
on them for
Yeah.
identifying that and branding it.
I know. I know.
That is a great word.
I
Um,
was always so confused as a young kid growing up by Shell. Uh, I'd be like, wait, does it have shells in it or what's the deal? And my dad would be like, I mean, basically kind of, it's like fossil fuel. That's where it comes from is so yes. But as a kid, I was still like, what? So are you telling me it does have shells in it then? And the other one's not? Like I was just confounded by Shell for so long.
it really is confounding, actually. I don't know how anybody ever invented, like, figuring out that you could make gasoline and then use it to fuel things is, I mean, the internal combustion engine, all of it is like blows my mind.
Mind-boggling. It truly is.
Totally. Mind bottling, as Will
Yeah.
Ferrell would say. It's like my mind is all trapped in a bottle. Okay, well, speaking of billionaires, let's bring back the Weekend Vans business report.
Yes. Ding, 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 ding. We need a intro music for the Weekend Vans business report.
You've said that and you've done that in the
Yeah.
past. And I
Ding,
agree
ding, ding,
that
ding,
I
ding,
think you
ding.
should just do it each time.
Okay.
By the way, I think I'm going to rebrand. I mean, this qualifies as a business report because I'm going to deliver some business articles to you, but I think we should rebrand Weekend Van's segment as the gossip column.
That's good. I like it. I like it. Gossip, because where does better gossip take place than in a van?
You could sit there around that little table and have a little chat circle,
Just gossip away. Just whatever's on your mind, whatever's
crack,
unfounded.
cracking a Merrick lager from the cooler.
So easy. I've done it for hours. It's
Yeah,
totally worth every step.
exactly. So thank you, Weekend Vans, for providing the gossip column / business report this week. Weekendvans.com at Weekend Vans on Instagram. Um, Headline that I just created: Jersey Mike set to take over the WSL question mark.
Is this true?
Well, from Brendan on Instagram, hot off the press, surf biz speculation, Jersey Mike's sells to Blackstone for $8 billion.
Is
So that is true.
this is recent?
This just happened 2 days ago.
Okay.
Jersey Mike sells to Blackstone for $8 billion, billion with an M.
Yeah.
That's my favorite joke. Peter Cancrow now has 3 commas in his bank balance. Peter is a lifelong Jersey Shore guy. I believe he's a surfer. There are some subtle surf adjacent nods in Jersey Mike's branding and messaging. And notably, Peter made the largest gift ever to USA Surfing, $1 million over 4 years in 2023. He sponsors lifeguard comps in Jersey regularly. So now that he's moneyed up and he's proven that his heart is in the right place, could he right the WSL and make up for the misdeeds of the Ziff era?
Ooh, this is so good. Jersey Mike's, as you know, has been my favorite. Have we talked about Jersey Mike's? We have.
You have expressed your love for Jersey Mike's on this show.
Yeah, I love Jersey Mike's. I'm not gonna lie. I love Mike's Way. I love it all. But the fact that Mike's Way can be surf related, here's the question I have for you. Is the World Surf League okay? Would it be better for surfing for a fresh billionaire to take over the WSL, or would it be better for a billionaire to start from scratch, make his own thing or her own thing, and just blow the WSL, just take the WSL out of business by making a better product? Because if you take over the WSL, sure, you can lay claim to the history, I suppose, but it all's artificial, right? I mean, do you feel when the WSL says they've been crowning champions, for example, since 1976, do you actively feel, oh yeah, they have. The WSL has been crowning champions since 1976. No,
No.
I think they've been crowning champions since 2015. All fine and good. So I'm saying you could, as long as you are professional surfing,
Yeah.
I think you can lay claim to the lineage of professional surfing. The WSL is an entirely separate thing from the ASP. They kind of bought the bones, but it's an entirely different thing. ASP was a different thing from the ISP, right? All of these. So I think you could say, if you were going to start your own thing, professional surfing went from the ISP to the ASP to the WSL to now professional surfing is X, whatever you want to call it, right? But
Yeah.
I think not buying that bloated structure, not
Yeah.
having to go in and clean house, not having to fully reorganize. And again, so the thing that you don't get, the history or the surfers. But again, we live in a kind of utopian surf time, I feel, where there is as many good surfers off tour that are on. And oftentimes more interesting surfers off tour. Just go make a stinking tour from these surfers off tour.
Yeah. It's IPS, by the way, for the
IPS, sorry.
record. For the record. Yeah. So I guess it would ultimately come down to, what is the WSL's ask? Are they asking for an actual payday, or are they just, they didn't buy the ASB, they
Yeah,
got
they
it
just
for
bought the
free.
debt.
Right. Exactly. So can they get it can Peter get it for free? Can Jersey Mike's get it for free? And number two, is it going to be more work to restructure, or is it going to be more work to build from scratch? And I think that if you can just kind of eliminate everybody in the WSL and rework it, that might be the better thing, because then you're not competing for a title. You're not competing for being the biggest contest circuit in surfing. You're just already established as the biggest contest in surfing. So that has value. But if you can just come in and clean house, I think it could be pretty quick. And I think it'd be pretty well embraced. I think,
That's a lot of cleaning though. You'd have to cut the field down. I mean, automatically, like this 6 day, windows. I mean, or how long does it take to run an event? 4 days, realistically, right?
yeah,
Like all of this is absurd. And so you'd have to chop down the field right away. You'd have to come in and really clean house.
yeah. But that's not necessarily more work than building from scratch, because I think everybody wants the house to be cleaned at this point,
I mean, do they?
internally and the athletes.
What if though Jersey Mike just like went and said, okay, we're going to spend 5 million. It's got to be more than that. We're going to spend 10 million bucks on the best tour ever 1 year. We're just going to do it 1 year. We're going to buy all the, ads and whatnot. So it won't be difficult to find. These events will happen in 1 day. It'll be the ideal that we've talked about or, bandied about here of like sort of a slam format that's movable. It's swell dependent, not place dependent, right? So there's going to be 8 stops or whatever during the year. Each one's going to be pumping. You don't quite know where it's going to be. Blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't and I mean, I think you could just blow the WSL out in one fell swoop and make them irrelevant.
I think an argument could definitely be made for that, but it'd be undeniable that you would have everybody's attention if they didn't exist on the side, if there weren't events running concurrently with yours.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It'll be curious to see as natural selection rounds into real life and like sort of the nascent bubbles of the Rebel Tour that everybody's always wanted or has wanted since the WSL basically took over to see how these things work.
Me too. Yeah, I'm very curious and welcoming of it. We do know for a certain fact that if this came to fruition, the WSL's catering would go through the roof.
Oh my,
The food provided on site would be incredible.
I'd be at every event. You couldn't keep me away unless they would try to keep me away. But still, Mike was on. I'd be okay. We'd be back fine.
You could cash in your loyalty reward point. You're like, you can't keep me away. I'm a gold member.
I got loyalty.
Look at my stamp card. It's full. My pro move for travel, on airplanes is to buy something in the airport from a good quality restaurant and bring it on the plane. And what I did last week when going to Florida was get a Jersey Mike sub.
And I'm sure you were pleased.
Totally. Get the full size. It's like, look, I don't need a full size, but
You might get hungry.
I'm gonna want a second half of this sandwich midway through the trip or at the end of the trip. And that's the other thing is you don't want to arrive at your destination starving.
Nope, you don't.
It's the worst case scenario where you're like, oh no, we'll get dinner after we land. But you
No.
land and you're starving, and now you're trying to get your rental car, you're waiting for your luggage, and you're starving. It is the worst time to be starving. So instead, I load up, make sure I'm full by the time I land. We can get dinner, but you know what? We can get dinner in an hour or two. No rush.
Bad decisions are made. It's like going to the grocery store starving when you walk out with a cart full of who knows what. Uh, if you get off the plane starving, 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up at Arby's. And that might
Totally.
sound good for a minute, but later on, but I love Arby's too. I'd be lucky to end up at Arby's. Do you like Arby's?
I mean, yeah, a version of me in the past loved Arby's, but I haven't had it in a decade, and I don't know that it would sit well.
The Arby's as a kid, I used to hate, like it was a real rare. I can't even remember where there was an Arby's because I don't think there was one in Coos Bay, Oregon. Oh, there was a knockoff Arby's called Rax. Uh, and going to Rax, I was just like that thin sliced roast beef just didn't do it for me. Man, as an adult, one of those Arby roast beef sandwiches with the cheese on top and a bunch of horsey sauce and barbecue sauce smeared all over it. Yum.
With the cheese that isn't even real cheese at all. It's
Exactly.
just like oil.
I
And the
think
bun
everyone,
is all soft, like the bun
yeah,
like mashes up into your mouth.
it's so good. Fake food,
Yeah.
but good.
Yeah, definitely. So when I got to the airport last week, like I'm down, I'll find a restaurant that looks good that has like something portable because there's some things that you need to consider if you're bringing it on the plane. You know, you don't want to have it needs to be handheld. You don't
Yeah.
want to use utensils to eat it. But a hamburger, it's like the hamburger is not going to really hold up that
No,
well
doesn't
when it's
hold.
cold, right? So when I saw Jersey Mike's, I was like, that is the perfect thing to buy
Yep.
and bring on an airplane and make everybody else jealous who's sitting around me.
Have we talked about I feel we've touched on it probably, but on concern for your fellow man on the airplane with what you bring aboard, right? Like,
We have talked about it, and I think related to smell specifically.
yeah, exactly. Like a big old plate of, yeah, onion curry or something like that is maybe it tastes good, but it is a bad call. You still have to be concerned where I feel Jersey Mike's is perfectly inoffensive. It doesn't leave a trace.
Totally inoffensive and makes everybody jealous.
Yep. It's a
And
great combo.
the worst thing that you could bring is probably Brussels sprouts.
Yeah. Ooh, yuck. Stinky. And people just getting mad. Nobody's jealous. They're just mad.
They smell it from seats away, from rows away.
The
Also, blue cheese would probably be a bad call if you had a sandwich or a salad with blue cheese.
the people who, I mean, it's the same slow walkers across the street. The totally oblivious, I'm eating the stinkiest meal ever on the plane. Just just sitting here, the whole plane smells like my food now. And well,
Exactly.
it's what it is.
The other thing that you should consider if we're doing this PSA is bulkiness. Like sometimes I see people show up and they have like an entire brown paper bag with the food that they bought in the airport. And it's like, that's basically an additional carry-on item. That's an
Yeah.
additional personal item. Like you can't have that. So with the Jersey Mike's sub, it's the shape of a torpedo. It fits right in your backpack. You don't need
And it
any
does
additional carrying things.
nothing.
Yeah.
Which Jersey Mike's did you get to bring to Florida?
The what sandwich?
Yeah.
The Italian one?
Yeah. It's a
I
good
don't know
call.
what I don't know what it's called, but
Number
yeah.
13 or something.
Yeah, I think it was number three. You are really, man. Peter's got to allocate some of those funds your way for this
Yeah.
advertising segment. Okay, following another business story, quote, Van's parent company sees stock downgraded to junk status in wake of Pipe Masters imbroglio.
It's true. I don't know how much it was related to the Pipe Masters imbroglio, but have you been following that one first?
I have, yeah, definitely.
They've really, so yeah, for those who don't know, Vans is now, yeah, does the Pipe Masters, has for a minute, but it's the whole, I mean, it's blame falls on the WSL for all of this getting messed up. The Pipe Masters used to crown champions at the end. WSL wanted to move it at the start of the season, so they actually lost the Pipe Masters name and image and likeness, which now Vans has. So Van runs it as a invitational. So it's not a regular contest. It's only invitational. And Jamie O'Brien did not get invited this year, which led to a chorus of boos and guffaws from surfers around the world and surf fans. How could you do this? You're a bunch of kooks. Vans is being run by kooks, etc., etc. And right during this time, even, I mean, in the same window, their stock got, their parent company stock, VF Corp stock got downgraded to junk status. by standard
Brutal.
Poor.
Brutal. So would you buy?
A Vans stock. I looked at it because I thought junk status. I'm no financial wizard. I thought junk status and penny stocks were the same. Uh, Vans stock was, I think or VF Corp stock was like at $11 when I looked a share. The junk status moniker comes from it getting downgraded from a triple B rating to a double B rating, which makes me think I would not buy at that point. Like if it was a penny stock and you're going to buy, I'm going to go buy 100 shares of Vans for $1 or VF Corp. I could see that being something enjoyable to do. The downgraded rating makes me think, and the text that went along with it was like, these guys have no idea what they're doing, basically, or not no idea. The market declares that they have a bad strategy and it's going to take a long time and like Vans was the anchor on this whole thing. It's Vans driving this VF Corp into the ground.
I'm just curious, or I'm not worried about anything other than what was the high. And even if this isn't the low, if there's a potential for it to go back anywhere near the high, I'm in.
The
So
problem
if I can, I don't care if I buy at 11, if it's going to go up to potentially 30 at some point, I'm in.
yeah,
I don't care if it goes down to 4. Of course, I'd rather buy at 4, but even at 11, if it goes up to 30, I'm happy.
you're good. Yeah, but I don't know that there's much hope for Vans moving forward is the thing. I mean, oddly, like you have a full business on your classic, right? The Vans classic line will never go out. It will always be I don't know, 20 to 30, who knows? It'll always be a X million
Lauren
dollar.
bought 2 pair. Lauren bought 2 pairs this week.
Of course. So you have that one. You have the old school, which I think is also a staple now. And you have the half cab staple. You have the high or this high skate or whatever. So you have like 4 or 5 staples. I feel Vans always trying to make new tech shoes and stuff. And I know that's what they think they need to do, but I would just trim all the fat if I own Vans. If I was Jersey Mike's and decided to buy Vans instead of the WSL, I would trim all the fat, just get it down to those basic silhouettes, and that's it. This is what we offer. We are a classic shoe company.
Yep, that may happen.
Yeah.
Well, so as it relates to the Pipe Masters, you referenced it, but they announced a few invites and alternatives or alternates for the event. And Jamie O'Brien was on the alternate list. So Josh Moniz took to Instagram in defense of Jamie and said, this is a travesty.
Outrage.
And then Jamie jumped on himself and wrote a big thing, basically, and not basically, outrightly saying at the bottom of his caption, to say that I am disappointed and offended is an understatement. He was pissed. So within a day or two, Vans corrected their wrong and published a full invite list. I think they had been working on it anyways. They were planning to release it, but they moved Jamie from the alternate list to the invite list. And now Jamie is in the event. I think Eli Olsen was caught up in that too. Eli was not invited originally, then he got invited. So how do you feel, number one, about Jamie O'Brien whinging on social media?
I like it. I mean, and I feel especially that things got done, right? Vans, I think, made a real mistake. Like a decision like this, hard to think how it came to be, but you got to think Vans in turmoil, new people, somebody got kicked down to somebody, and the chore of the Pipe Masters list went to the intern who surfs. And intern who surfs is just like, compiles it and with all these directions, right? Hey, you got to include all these Vans team riders in here. So, and then gets submitted and then, well, we didn't give it the thought we should have. Because I thought, whinging on social media is not generally a good look. But this was a real, like, Vans needed to be held to account for this one.
Yeah. Well, I think that the missive maybe at Vans was new blood. Like we're going to invite a bunch of people. We're going to really focus it on young up and comers. And so that's probably why Jamie got left out. And he even said in that post, when he asked Vans why he wasn't invited, they said, you are too old. He said that in quotes.
The crazy thing to me about that plan shows a real misunderstanding of what pipeline is as a
I
wave,
know.
where this is not lower trestles, where we need some more high performance. No, the people who do, I think, some of the best performances out at pipeline, the surfers who perform best out there, are the surfers who have been there the longest, who know the wave the best, who can see those. You're looking for one thing at pipe. You're looking for basically crazy deep tubes, like both backdoor and pipeline. You're looking for the surfer to take off the most critically, to be able to read the ocean the best, to get the most shacked and get spat out well behind the spit.
Yeah.
Which
Um,
that's not young blood.
well, there also the problem I think for me with this was something we talk about at the WSL all the time, which is a misunderstanding of the core tenet of surfing. And then additionally, the legacy of surfing and the history of the sport and all that. But if you really do understand pipeline uh, and its importance to the world, you would Jamie O'Brien would be in the top maybe five names
Yeah.
every year. You know,
Yeah.
he's still at the top of his game because all of those things that you just said, you know, there's no spot in the world that actually requires more experience, and that experience goes a longer way than at Pipeline. And Jamie not only has a Pipe Masters and multiple wins out there and decades of experience, he's still at the top of his game. It's not like an honorary invite for 𝗦𝘂𝗍𝗄, let's say, who's
Yeah.
in his 60s. You know, this is a guy who still on every single swell is putting out the best clips.
And once again, I mean, both Josh Moniz and Jamie pointed to just the Pipe Masters getting degraded beyond
Yeah.
recognition, that it's now a meaningless, like they just wrecked it. They wrecked the crown jewel of professional surfing. They wrecked, but I'm going to place once again blame on the World Surf League. This is Vans has done a bad job as a steward over the last, I don't know, since they've been in charge. But it's the World Surf League that fundamentally broke the Pipe Masters. It took surfing's one iconic, I'd say what? There's like two, three iconic events in surfing. There's Bells, there is Pipe Masters, there's the Eddie, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they took a absolute hammer to the best of them, or just because they wanted to front the season with Pipeline and end at lowers, or at a finals day, but which has been lowers, but without thinking about the history, without thinking about, okay, we actually have a Super Bowl. The Super Bowl doesn't happen at the start of the season. The Super Bowl, like, there was just the lack of fundamental understanding from the World Surf League back in the day when they decided to shift pipe first. Just, yeah, and so now we have like a degraded, silly, irrelevant best contest on earth.
Well, the thing is with, let's say, the Oscars for Hollywood, they just manufacture importance. Or with the Super Bowl to a certain extent, you can kind of manufacture where you want the importance to lie. With surfing, Mother Nature has dictated it, and we as surfers have honored that and determined pipeline is the pinnacle of the sport. And so that says it all. And you as the, I don't know, arbiters of the sport just have to point everybody's direction at what we already know and just kind of prop it up. Them trying to kind of rearrange it and manufacture importance elsewhere is just a fool's errand. It's complete waste of money, complete waste of time, and it'll never net them what they're trying to get.
I mean, you're exactly right. Like, pipeline has been, or was baked in to
Yep.
the surf consciousness for, I mean, any surfer who's, you know, was born before 2015, uh, is well aware of pipeline as the peak. And you're exactly, it's so easy to build up that narrative through the year because that's what it is. And that's what we know it as. So
It just is. It just is what it is. Surfers
yeah.
didn't determine that. Surfers, no brands manufacture that. Pipeline is what it is. Like the Mother Nature determined it long ago, and it is what it is. There's no way to change it.
And it's so insane. Even them moving finals day, WSL moving finals day away from lowers to cloud break. Sure, the venue is better, etc., but it's no pipeline. And
No.
there's no like this history of what pipeline has been, what it has done. the surfers who have come before. Like, sure, cloud break is great, and nothing against cloud break, but cloud break is no pipeline. Nothing is
Yeah.
no pipeline, only pipeline. To take it's really ridiculous in the rear view to really honestly think about. You lay out the cards. They laid out the cards on the World Surf League table. Said, okay, these are our events. These are the properties we have that are good. Let's take pipeline and just throw it in the toilet and be done with that one because we don't. That one is annoying. Like it's insane to me. It's an insane thing to do.
Well, it would be the equivalent of Mount Everest, is, I mean, I don't know anything about climbing. I presume that is the most difficult. I think maybe K2 is like a,
K2, I think, is more technically challenging.
but Everest, we know the name, we know the legacy, all that sort of stuff, right? So in the
Yeah.
mind's eye or in the public's eye, uh, Mount Everest is the most difficult climb. That's the biggest challenge. And then starting a climbing league and be like, no, you know what? We're going to do it in a rock wall this week in Los Angeles. The finals are going to end at a rock wall in Los Angeles.
It's insane.
Ignore Mount Everest. No, we don't want to talk about that anymore. We're gonna, it. That's the
We'll do Everest as like kind of like a challenger series kind of thing. Like it'll
right.
be a qualifier for the rock wall, an early season qualifier for
Yeah.
the big rock wall in Los Angeles.
Um, I'm gonna publish an episode with Liam McNamara later today, putting the final like, kind of touches on it, and he explained the bigger issue is them the WSL not only with the pipe masters, but even on like the CS level and the QS level, like the elimination of the Triple Crown is a
Yeah,
disaster.
disaster.
The only events that the youth have there's a couple of them, and they're 1 stars or 1,000 point events now. So there's a complete erosion in the investment in Hawaii surfing as a whole. And the Pipe Masters is just one part of it, but it's a much bigger problem. And the problem with that is for the local youth is there's no ushering of talent and a springboard into a professional career. And so there will never be in this new world order, there will never be another John. There will never be another Carissa. There will never be another Andy Irons because there isn't this grooming process and system, and there's no incentive for those kids to do it. Instead, what they're going to do is focus on turning the camera on themselves and publishing a vlog because that's how Nathan Florence is getting paid. That's how Ko is getting paid. That's how Jamie's getting paid. But it's a disaster for the WSL and professional surfing to not make those investments where there's such a huge return on the investment.
I mean, like exactly. And if we do see another, I would imagine like John Florence-esque surfer. I mean, but that's the thing. What makes John so good, and what makes Andy and Bruce and Jamie and I mean any Hawaiian kind of surfer that's risen to the level of consciousness, uh, they surf that way because they cut their teeth in Hawaii, right? Like
Yeah.
it's those waves have created them. I feel now if there's a kid in Hawaii who wants to be a professional surfer, dad better get that kid over to California, like other places that where the waves on tour are that style, right?
There's
Like,
no other place on the planet. That's the problem. Like, you can be a phenomenal surfer from Brazil. You can be a phenomenal surfer from Australia. It is not the same as being born and bred on the North Shore. And those surfers on the North Shore will still develop incredible talent, but without a contest system, grooming and structuring you to be able to compete, it probably won't translate on the world scale. And so
yeah,
that's where the John and the Carissa and Andy Irons are so unique is that they had the North Shore breeding ground for talent and then the grooming of the system that allowed them to go and match with Kelly Slater and take him down.
yeah, it'll be, I mean, the bummer for the North Shore too, in particular, is it's not like, okay, well, the WSL like screwed this up so bad that nobody's paying attention over here now. And so at least we don't have all these contests and, it's open and we can surf and like screw you corporate masters. Except it's not that at all. The North Shore, I feel, is more crowded than it's ever been with traffic, with people coming and all that. And so, yeah, they don't have their cake and they're not allowed to eat it too. Like there's
Right.
no system and it's twice as crowded.
It's a total disaster
Yeah, they
for
really
for
dummy.
us as fans and for them as a business.
Yeah.
So,
WSL. Hopefully it goes under sooner than later.
uh, yeah, Jersey, swoop in, Jersey Mike. The other final topic from our Weekend Vans gossip column business report, uh, 𝗲𝗷𝗄𝗄𝗃 definitely got a new chin.
Man, somebody sent me a DM today. I need a better picture though of his old chin because the
I've got
picture,
him.
okay, you have like his new chin is striking. Let's just be frank.
So 6 months ago, a listener submitted this, and then I presented it to you, and then we got a plastic surgeon to kind of look at the photos and chime in, and they said, no, I don't think so. It could just, or I'm not certain. It could be lighting or it could be angle. And 𝗲𝗄𝗄 had a goatee at the time. But in the last week, he's posted a bunch of photos where it is clear as day. His chin is totally different.
I need the before. I saw the afters today and it was striking. And again, there's nothing, let's be quite honest, there's nothing you can do to change your chin shape other than surgical. It's not like I was doing these jaw workouts, right? I was really working on my jaw and boom, there my chin got all big and square. No, he had a full chin job, which is weird. It's not weird, I guess. I guess it's not weird at all. It's a kind of the kind of man who gets plastic surgery is just must be an archetype. The kind of dude who looks in the mirror and says, I don't like what I'm looking at, but instead of just sucking it up and well, yeah, like I'm pretty ugly, I'm going to go do something about it.
I guess what's weird to me is that 𝗲𝗄𝗄 wasn't ugly.
He was, I mean, felt he
It
was, yeah, he was normal slash better than normal looking.
exactly. So it's unnecessary to me. Like I understand plastic surgery for um correcting, I don't know, anything, a malady or something like, and then I almost understand it for vanity's sake, or I understand that people do it, even though I'm not kind of into it. But 𝗲𝗄𝗄, you already look great. Like what? It seems totally unnecessary in this case.
But so did Madonna looked great too before she went, like, I mean, there's so many who look great that go, I mean, so is it more of like is it dysmorphia or dysphoria? Dysmorphia.
I feel like morph
Yeah.
dysmorphia sounds right.
Yeah.
Body
But like,
dysmorphia.
looking at the mirror and seeing things that are off for you, right? Like that you're not
Yeah.
seeing an accurate reflection. So maybe 𝗲𝗄𝗄 just looked at his face and saw a pinhead and just said, I need this stinking jaw. I need a big ol' I mean, but here's the other question. When you start, rarely do people stop.
I
Is
know.
is 𝗲𝗄𝗄 going to turn into like what's his dude? Matt Damon in Behind the Candelabra.
Yes,
I mean,
he is.
is that where this goes?
100% without a doubt. Yeah.
How good
It
is
is a
Behind the
slippery slope.
Candelabra?
What?
How good is Behind the Candelabra?
It was very good. I only watched it once when it first came out, but I remember loving it.
Oh man, yeah, I've that one's been on a plane a couple times, so I've like lapped it. It's really, really what's his dude as Liberace? Michael Douglas as Liberace
Yep.
is just art.
We've got the substance queued up for tonight.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Looking
Eat
forward to that.
before.
So I think I had another thought on 𝗲𝗄𝗄, but I've lost it now. So I'm going to move on to pros in the wild.
Is real quick though, is 𝗲𝗄𝗄 a full outlier or is this happening secretly in our professional surfing ranks and it's just been so subtle that we haven't noticed?
There's other examples of it in the past, but he is an outlier.
Man, it's odd. It is odd.
I gave Scott Bass a rant earlier this week, and I'll kind of share it with you too, because it relates. This is why I love John John so much, is John John released a new edit this week. You watch it and it's just mind-blowing. It's like crazy huge barrels, crazy high performance surfing on triple overhead waves at Haleiwa, flips, rotations that are 8 feet out, like quadruple over, double up, or quadruple up, sandbar, unsurfable mutant wave. Like every single box in surfing, he's ticking it, and he's ticking it at a higher level than people who are experts in that one thing. He's
Yeah.
getting more barrel than barrel riders. He's doing bigger airs than the air guys. So you watch that and you go, man, John John is unequivocally the best surfer in the world. He's our current world champ. um, gold medalist, Olympian, like, so I love John so much. And you know what he's not doing? Juicing the algorithm with selfies and oiled up ab photos to get more money and to get more likes and to get more fans. He is the people's champ. He's quietly toiling away, bagging these clips, which he's not posting on Instagram tomorrow. He's giving them to an artist filmmaker team who creates this beautiful cinematic piece of art. So I should have started with this. The reason I love John is he's giving back to surfing in these
Yeah.
art projects. So
Yes.
I feel like if you want to be a fan, or if you are a fan, I am a fan of Gabriel and Italo, but they don't give anything back. All that they do is pursue their own interests and shove it in, gloat about it. You know what I mean? And all of it is a pursuit of money and fame and power. And it's evident by them just trying to get world titles and them gaining sponsors and posting about them on. John quietly toiling away and then puts art back there that ultimately he probably will earn money on, obviously with Florence and his brand and stuff like that. But it's about the surfing and it gives back to us fans of surfing.
I mean, John Florence strikes me as a person who is satisfied. He
True.
doesn't need more, right? And it's wonderful to see somebody who resists the temptation to just get more, right? Kelly Slater didn't resist that temptation. Kelly Slater couldn't stop, right? I think it's really hard to do that. When you have opportunity, when somebody is sitting there before you saying, okay, John, we want to use you for this, you're going to get paid this. We're going to continue to make it easier for you to do. But, you like all of it, it's hard to say no to that. And it feels like John is satisfied with what he has while also still progressing where he's not satisfied, right? Like pushing further into surfing. But he doesn't need, to do big old whatever ads.
Doesn't need to get a chin implant.
Yeah. He could use one though,
He
maybe.
could have used it more than Idolo. That's the thing. That's the irony of this. Man. All right. Well, pros in the wild. Good morning, DLS and Chaz. I was listening to this week's episode of The Grit, and you were discussing how nice Tom Curren is. I have a quick story for you. In 2016, I was assistant manager at the Encinitas Home Depot in San Diego. I'll never forget this. My district manager was in the store, and we were in the middle of a business review. I branch off to help a customer, and as I'm walking back to the leadership team, I walk past the paint desk where a younger associate is helping someone, not just anyone. It's him. Tom Curren. He is wearing ripped gray sweatpants and a gray t-shirt. I was in a bit of a hurry to get back to my meeting, but I couldn't help myself. I had to say something. After all, my hero is standing right here in front of me. I stop and say, man, has anyone ever told you you look like Tom Curren? Curren looks at my apron to see my name. He sticks his hand out and says, Corey Sides, I'm Tom Curren. It's nice to meet you. And he shakes my hand. What I'm trying to say is Tom Curren is in fact the nicest dude ever. He had no obligation to speak to me or introduce himself, but he did. He said my name, looked me in the eye. What a class act work.
Man, Tom Curren, I feel we on this program alone, Tom Curren can thank us later, but I think we're getting Tom Curren fast tracked to sainthood. I feel Tom Curren, when time is up, is going to end up at the pearly gates, and St. Peter is going to say, Tom, we have another lane for you, a special lane, Saint Tom Curren.
The express lane.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, I've gotten to know Tom over the course of us doing this and getting these listeners emails because in my mind, Tom was sainthood as it relates to surfing and sainthood as it relates to style. But I thought that his personality, I thought that maybe I hate to say his intellect was limited. And what I've learned is that no, he is actually humble and quiet. And that's not a reflection of he doesn't have anything to say. It's a reflection of his gentlemanliness.
See, and I had always been under the impression, I have not spent time with Tom Curren like you have, but I was always under the impression that his kind of offbeatness kind of thing, yeah, was born from an addled mind, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That he had kind of got a little not dumb, but like a little, he probably never started that smart and then got a little loopy as time went on, right? And
Yeah.
it was endearing and cute, but no is like not only is he not that, that is a poor description, is what I'm hearing and feeling. He is a kind, soft-spoken gentleman who's going about things his own way.
It totally. And it was not only a poor description, it was a misunderstanding of the public that he could have attempted to write at any point by engaging in an interview, but he didn't. He didn't care. He's
Yeah.
like, no, you can feel what you want to feel because he's that gentlemanly, where he
Yeah.
just doesn't, he's doing his own thing.
Great.
And his own things are great. Like he's making great music. He's spending time with family. Like he's doing it. So I got one other one, Pro in the Wild. Hey, DLS and Chaz, I wanted to submit a Pro in the Wild on behalf of my father. My father moved to the Gold Coast when he was 7. After the untimely passing of his father at age 13, he took up surfing. He went to school with Rabbit and would regularly see MP getting spat out of barrels at Kira. What a time. One day, as Dad and his friends walked down the beach to enjoy the pumping Gold Coast beachy, they spied a group of young women sunbathing on the beach. Right before paddling out, they glanced back to see one, Peter Druin, wandering down the beach, board under arm. They wince, knowing that they are about to have their session marred by the obnoxious showman. They all expedite their paddle out to try to grab a couple before Peter makes it to the lineup. But when they look back, to check on Peter's status, they see that he's doing push ups in front of the girls. They had a chuckle and they enjoyed the added time in the lineup. My father and his friends surfed for 2 hours and Peter never paddled out. Eventually, they went in, and sure enough, Peter is sitting amongst the girls holding court. Dad had a few interactions with Peter over the years and found him to be a much better talker than a surfer. Not to say that Peter didn't earn his plenty of his accolades and awards, but his priorities certainly had shifted. Keep work. Regards, Craig Rogers.
Wow, thank you, Craig. Peter Druin in the Wild Stories. I feel we could get more and more of these coming in. Did you, speaking of, read Matt Warshaw's take on the Westerly Wendina film?
I've been meaning to, I just haven't taken the time.
Yeah, Warshaw's so great with his real honest breakdowns, right? Like he really goes through a lot of it in terms of Peter's complaints about being left out or this, that, or the other thing, and says, yeah, but no, right? Like this is the actual history is this, this, and this, which I felt was a great addendum to both the film and the ongoing story of Peter slash Westerly.
Well, you talked about it last week a little bit. I watched the film a second time in Florida with Jamie, actually, and then I talked to Jamie about it a bit. So I got to process my thoughts a little bit more. And ultimately, I just felt sad for Peter.
It's
Like,
sad.
it is a sad, he's a sad figure. I felt sad for him in his youth when he was a brash, machismo. I felt sad for him as a womanizer who, all of those pursuits are just kind of seeking validation, you know? And so I felt sad for him that way. As Westerly, I felt sad because Westerly certainly faced a lot of discrimination and never felt the validation that she had been as Peter seeking. Um, and then in the transition back into Peter after Westerly, sad, very sad, like
All of it's sad.
a shell of multiple people at that point.
Which I mean, and at some point, and this is why, though, for me, I uh gifted it with the golden. Which film won, by the way?
Water Brother.
Okay, good. Love Water Brother. I mean, Sid, Water Brother, phenomenal. But the reason that I voted for Westerly was purely for Jamie. He must have realized at some point, like, as a storyteller, you have this story that's fascinating, right? And then you start getting into it and you realize that it's fascinating and complex. And at some point, Jamie realized this is also deeply depressing. This is not a feel-good story. This is a train wreck in a way, but I'm going to keep the camera on because this is an honest human story and it doesn't have a happy ending and there's not good feels from it. And I mean, Water Brother, again, best ever Sid, love the movie beyond, but had a real classic arc in terms
Yeah.
of, the kid who grew up loving surfing, skateboarding and stuff, got the shop, went a little too hard on the booze, cleaned up. It's a beautiful story and Sid's beautiful. Sid is that, right? Sid is a beautiful subject matter. Peter Druin / Westerly was not good subject matter, and yet Jamie never pulled the plug on it. Jamie continued. Where I wonder, did you ask? I'll have to ask Jamie this at some point. I wonder if Jamie looks back and think, man, that was a waste of 10 years. I made
No.
art. I got a book. I got a film, but it is neither of what, if I could go back, I would not spend my time doing that.
Look, you're right. You should ask Jamie that, but I would guess that his answer is no. It was definitely not a waste of time. It was perhaps my life's great work.
Yeah. I mean, which once again, that's the way the film came off to me. It was not a happy film. It is not a pleasant film. It is not which is hard, but it is a magnum opus.
It is definitely because the subject matter is so complex. There's not a lot of projects that you could dedicate time to that would offer that much depth and richness. Um, I think I told you weeks ago when I first brought up that I had watched it that I was surprised how non-judgmental I was. I I expected to go in and watch the film and then be trying to identify something that triggered him in his youth to then live the life that ultimately he led. But I didn't. All that I felt was sympathy for the figure and the character and what they had been going through, and ultimately kind of wanted to hug him, or her throughout until something I forgot about on my first viewing, but I remembered on the second one. There's a small bit in the middle of the film where Rabbit says, "Oh, yeah. And then he got caught with an underage girl."
Yeah.
And then they cut to Peter's attorney friend who said, "Yeah, that happened, and legally, it all went away ultimately. So I don't know if the victim got paid off or whatever. There wasn't enough evidence to fully, prosecute Peter." And Jamie, actually, I talked to Jamie about it, and he said, "Yeah, there was not more there that was worth putting in the film because allegations were made legally. That was all. They were allegations. There was no more pursuit after that. And so as filmmakers, we had to present the topic because it was an allegation, but there was no more basically to present after that. So me as a viewer, I'm like, I'm open-minded and I'm not any of the morals that I was raised with or judgments that I developed from those morals. I was not imposing on Peter or Westerly as a character until it turns
Yeah.
out I do have morals because that is wrong. Like you can't sleep with an underage chick as like a 40-year-old, no matter what the age is. You know what I mean? But like,
I mean, completely. And again, back to I feel that, and I don't know what Jamie felt going in, but through the film, not that he leaves with this, because I feel Jamie does a really good job of just painting Peter / Westerly as Peter / Westerly is. And the problem with that character is just deeply, 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 deeply flawed. It feels like there's not a lot there, like that it's manipulative, narcissistic, like it's a bunch of bad stuff mixed in. I don't know that there's a lot of good elements in that person, right?
yeah.
But then this is your life's work, is making a film out of a person that, again, I don't know Peter or Westerly, but it just seems like it's all a manipulation.
Well, I don't think that it was a manipulation in terms of trying to get people to believe something that Peter didn't believe. Or I think the manipulation was just Peter seeking validation, Westerly seeking validation, them operating out of their own best interest at all times, trying to
Yeah.
get. But ultimately, this relates back to 𝗍𝗏 never being satisfied.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
You've gotten everything. You've gotten the surfing awards, and it's still not enough for you. You're only
yeah.
looking at the ones you didn't get.
Yeah. I mean, it's the insatiable drive to feed something in you without ever pausing to think, okay, now I'm going to feed or try to feed somebody around me.
Exactly. And the insatiable thing that you're trying to feed is a black hole that's just going to vacuum it out the
Suck.
back.
Yeah.
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 So that's part. So the listener wrote this story about Drouyn showing up at the beach and doing the push-ups, part of me thinks Yeah, he did shift perspectives or priorities in life. Surfing isn't as high of a priority at this point. Women are more of a priority or whatever it is, or today on this given day it is. And part of me thinks that's natural and that's actually healthy. Surfing should not be your priority throughout your entire life, right? But if the priority becomes something that is superficial or a narcissistic pursuit, then it's reflective of something unhealthy, and surfing could actually be the saving grace. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, I
And
mean,
so that
surfing is built into its very fiber, both narcissism and selfishness. Like that's the whole thing. So you could just take that out in the water and be that, and that's okay out there. Like surfing can, you'll be a pest in the lineup or whatever. But the world of surfing is about kind of a broad selfishness.
totally.
And like, yeah, like doing something for yourself. Rarely, how often are you out in the waves? When you're really hooting on somebody else. Like I'll surf with the wife all the time and I'm stoked when she gets a wave and stuff like that. But generally you're out there surfing not to watch other people surf. You're out surfing to get yours.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, even if somebody is ripping, I'm definitely not hooting at them.
Yeah.
It'd
Or
have
not
to
even
be,
not even necessarily stoked. Like you feel like I will recognize that person is ripping and right beneath that will be I wish I was on that wave.
yeah, totally. Um, in the interest of time, I am going to forego our tools to live by segment this week. I have an excellent submission from Miguel in Portugal, but I'm going to save it for next week.
Okay, excited
Are
to
you,
get to it though.
are you going to be around the Friday after Thanksgiving?
Sure will be going
So we
nowhere.
can, okay, cool. So we'll record next week after Thanksgiving. And this one actually kind of relates to Thanksgiving. So it'll be good for next week, anyways.
Perfect.
So let's go to commercial break and then we'll be back with Barrel or Nah. All right, Chaz, we're back.
So
I've got
happy.
I've got some advice for you and for everybody else, everybody within the sound of my voice for Thanksgiving next week.
Is it betterhelp.com?
It's not.
What is it?
Uh, but that would probably be helpful after Thanksgiving, time with family in preparation of. I was just thinking, like, we're hosting and I've got the menu mapped out, and I was like, what would go great on this menu alongside turkey and everything else?
Foie gras.
Totally. But a little bit more accessible, ribeye.
Oh yeah, ribeye steak.
I'm like, in addition, not instead of turkey, but like you have everything. The flavors are all, I don't know, not bland, but they're all kind of one note, right?
Yeah,
You know what would be phenomenal is just ribeyes sitting right there. You would be the hero of Thanksgiving if you had a side of ribeye for people just to go, I want fattiness. That's what's missing from the turkey is fat, right? So
that's the
that
problem.
fatty richness that it feels like home.
Yeah, it's such a good call. I bet what would happen are you going to do ribeye? Are you going to introduce ribeye around your Thanksgiving table?
I'm really thinking about it.
You should, but the problem is you should go way less of a turkey then, because people, I would imagine, are going to take turkey as their side and ribeye as their main.
It's true.
Yeah.
I don't want to really like shift focus. I want just it to be the greatest side piece ever.
What if you did, it might be easier, what's it called?
Tomahawk.
No, the Cardiff crack. What is Central Coast known for?
Oh yeah, tri-tip.
Tri-tip. What about, because you could throw a tri-tip in, right? It's not quite as fatty and stuff, but it does fit the bill without nearly as much prep time, etc.
Yeah, that's true. It's easier to do for a large number of people too.
Here,
But
our Thanksgiving, so we're doing a brunch pre-Thanksgiving, brunch Thanksgiving Day. And then the wife was like, man, I'm not going to be able to do a whole nother meal. So I think we're just going to get a Peking duck, which is always my dream for Thanksgiving.
that is a great call too.
Yeah.
Do
Just
you
a
have
peak.
a place nearby that does it good?
There's some, there's one where the daughter does ballet in Convoy down here in San Diego. Convoy, if you don't know, is the like Asian food district. And I'm sure I could grab one there. But there's a restaurant here, Bird's Eye Kitchen, that does an amazing duck. And so thinking about maybe going, because it's duck is one of those, especially the way it's prepared there, is like even better day after. And so
Really?
go get it. toss it in the fridge, let it all soak up, and then boom, dinner the next night.
Great call, man.
Yeah. Duck.
A different bird than your
Duck takes
traditional.
duck takes the duck is the turkey and ribeye combined. It
Yeah.
has it's a poultry, fowl, whatever, but it is also has the rich fattiness of the ribeye.
It's red in color, so it's
Yeah,
almost like red meat, but that layer, there's a layer of fat between the meat and the skin.
so good.
That is gold because the skin or the meat itself is pretty lean, but that layer of fat exists in between.
It's that whole bite.
I know I'm getting hungry. I'm looking forward to next week. Okay, barrel or not, bagging your own groceries. And now hold your thought. This listener wrote in an email that kind of deviates from that initial conceit, but I'm going to read it to you real quick. He says, when you forget to bring your own grocery bag, but still being a decent person, bag your own groceries using one of the store's bags, expediting the process tremendously, helping the cashier, et cetera, et cetera. And yet the cashier still charges you 10 cents for whatever, for the bag that you're using, even though you're doing the work. Obviously, it's not the 10 cents, but on principle, I've always felt that was silly and a little out of touch. Furthermore, how annoying is it when you're waiting in line behind an able-bodied person who's just standing there on the phone, taking up space and not helping the cashier bag their groceries? That's infuriating. It wastes everybody's time. I've always wanted to apologize to the cashier after that person leaves. Keep work, Luke in Carlsbad.
Luke, great point. I'm real mixed on this one. So if there are baggers, if there are usually baggers I feel are younger or down at the market eye shop, some of the baggers are special needs, which is great. And I love it. And so I don't want to take their job away from them, right?
Yeah.
And I would like to encourage also the grocery store to hire baggers. If you don't have a bagger, hire a bagger. But when you're in the situation where you have just the cashier, you have a line, overworked cashier, likely, stressy, do your best to help out in that situation. Grab and just shove. I am an awful bagger. I don't have the math brain or the Tetris brain or any of it, so I'll do it all wrong, which sometimes I think leads to more problem because then the bagger has to unbag or the cashier has to unbag me and rebag me, which now we've just wasted double time. But I think the work or the attempt at work is appreciated.
That is so funny. I've had the cashier judge my bagging too.
Yeah.
They'll finish. I'm still bagging. They're done doing their job. And so they'll come over and try to help because now it's my turn to pay. So, expedite the process. So they'll start bagging. And I see them look all in three bags, very confused, and
Yeah.
then move stuff from this bag to that
Yes.
bag. They're totally judging.
I feel though, because my wife has the bagging she likes to bag, right? I feel if you become a grocery store clerk, you probably also like to bag. That's probably the fun part of your job, and here we go again, back to the grocery store. The cart, I fully understand that. Intrinsically, anybody out who doesn't want to go outside and work a little more is a person that I don't leave space for that person in this world, right? But if you're a grocery store clerk, do you love to bag so much that when somebody's bagging, that's the fun part. You're ringing up so you can get to the puzzle playing, right? And
Yeah,
then if somebody's bagging for you, did they just take your puzzle?
maybe.
See, I don't know because I don't have that puzzling instinct, but I
Yeah.
need somebody to call in. I need a former or current clerk to call in. Is that the real joy of the checking? I would think the joy of the checking is the sliding. The impossible part of the checking would be remembering the code for parsley. I'd those ones who can rattle that off, especially when there's a new employee who's coming in and kind of the older employees are hovering around helping,
Yeah.
and the person gets the nectarine and is and other person across the way, 0346.
I
And
know.
it says, oh, but this one's organic, 0343. They have every code for every piece of produce in the entire store in their brain.
It's amazing. What a
Yeah,
skill.
what a skill.
You know what else I never realized we have a special needs bagger here at our local store too. And so
Great.
it's funny to hear you say that. I didn't realize that was actually a thing.
I mean, it's great, right? There's human interaction, like it's
Yeah.
really fun interaction. I think most people are very kind to the person, and like the whole thing just is great. It's like feels like a little moment in Sesame Street where everyone's,
The
these are
world is a better
the
place.
neighbor. Yeah, the world is a better place for that moment.
You know what's really funny too? I had noticed that guy, but he's never once, I've never interacted with him. I just
Yeah.
notice him kind of, he's always away somewhere, not, in my line, um, or not bagging my groceries, I guess. And then Lauren came home and she was telling me a story about him one time, like, oh, yeah, you know that guy that always comes over and helps. And I'm like, no. I mean, I know who he is, but I've never interacted with him. She goes, what are you talking about? He comes and he
Ooh.
asks me if I need help finding things. He helps me grab stuff. Like he's overly helpful. I'm
Is it
like,
Peter Druin? Was it Peter Druin?
it was. What I've realized is he's got a crush on my wife. And
Yes.
now, once I figured that out, I pay attention. He's only ever helping women, and he is the friendliest helper you've ever met in your life.
That is, I gotta tip my cap to him. I was gonna say you should make him your enemy and go destroy what's left of his life. But no, I'm gonna say that dude is hero of the week.
It's hilarious that, like, I figured it out. He's got a full on scam going, and nobody's wise to it because everybody's like grateful, you know?
He's helping everybody. But
Yeah.
that's great though, that, in the world, I would imagine that it would be harder for that person, that dude, to have like a bunch of interactions with women, right? But in the store, it's the perfect place. And you have the perfect amount of time to do it too, because that bagging ritual or that it never happens instantly. That is a time-ish consume, like it's a 4 or 5 minute. It's perfect enough for how was your day today? How's your week
Yep.
been? Kind of talk.
Totally. He
Mhm.
plays the role perfectly. He's perfectly qualified for it. And everybody's thrilled to see him. Like he is the hero of everybody's day every day.
One day you're gonna have to run one last minute errand and get there right at closing time. And you're gonna see him coming out dressed as dapper can be, two women on each arm,
I know.
strolling over to a waiting limousine.
I really hope that day happens. Okay, the
One of them's gonna
next
be
one.
Lauren.
The next one comes from a listener. Um, as I'm reading the title of this, it makes me feel like maybe this came up at some point in the show before, but let's go ahead and hit it. Oops, volume's down. Always do that to eliminate text message pings. Okay, here we go.
David and Chaz, calling in here from the space coast of Florida. This one's for the grit. Battle or nah, surfboard furniture. I've seen a rise in the area of surfboards being used as chairs, benches, even fences. This seems a little blasphemous, seeing as these watercraft need a little more respect. Let me know what you think, boys. Keep up the work.
Surfboards as furniture.
Yeah, I think this one is a specific carve out. I think we've done surfboards as art. I think we have done surfboards as maybe fences,
Okay.
surfboards as definitely as like I'm painting my address on the surfboard or whatnot. But specifically as furniture, I'm again going to go across the board, no barrel. The
Yeah.
surfboard is a piece of art by itself. It is functional art. You don't need to do anything more with it, nor should you. The only carve out I'm going to give is I'm going to allow for a wall hanging surfboard if that surfboard is like crazy, crazy, crazy special. It can't just be one that you think is kind of cool. So you're going to mount it on the wall. Like it's got to have a story. It's got to have something. I'm going to allow for that. Not always, but I'll allow for that to exist. None of the rest will I allow to exist.
I'm only going to allow for that to exist if it's a vintage board. Like you can't go buy a brand new Skip
No,
Fry or
you're
Jerry
right.
Lopez as a wall hanger, even if it's a pipeliner or something. You can if it's new, you got to write it. If it's like a Pat Curran gun from the 30s or whatever, 40, I don't even know when, then wall hanger.
Precisely. I had just in my mind like the surfboard or the
Yeah.
surfboard museum, right? And I feel like I could see that in somebody's house also, a version of that, one of those, right? One
Yeah.
like, which you're exactly right, a historically significant board, not a new board. but
Yeah.
no surfboard for furniture. And once again, no surfboard is art. I hate to say it, but, and I don't mean to beat up on old Herbie Fletcher here, but his rectangles are dumb. That
I know.
it is silly art, and you don't need to do that. There is no point in it. The
Well,
surfboard is what it is as the surfboard, not hung up.
the other thing is it makes a crappy chair. It makes a crappy table. Like there is a difference. Well-made chairs are comfortable. Surfboards are not. Well-made tables are not domed. They hold, your drink won't fall off of it. So there's no point in using a surfboard for that stuff other than kitsch.
Yes. Don't like it. No
Yeah.
barrel.
No barrel, definitely no barrel. Final barrel or not, collecting. I thought each board in my quiver had purpose, but I recently overheard my wife describe it to a friend as my quote surfboard collection. I've quietly disdained and even mocked adults with collections of Beanie Babies, baseball cards, bobbleheads, porcelain figures, or even Seinfeld's Porsche collection. Get real, rich dudes. How many watches do you need? If I'm honest, collecting always seemed more like a psychological affliction than a hobby to me, but now I'm having a hard look in the mirror. Thanks, wife.
Good one. Ooh, man, this was well done too, in terms of going from both low to high in collections and realizing it is the same. And he's right. I do feel the same way. How much do you need? Seinfeld, did you really need to buy a whole building in New York, level it, and make it a garage to house your Porsches? How many of them are you driving daily? How much, it's just this need for more, this need for a bigger chin is this insatiableness, right? Totally true. And I'm going to say, no barrel on collecting surfboards. There's even though you're going to justify why you need each one, Jerry Seinfeld justifies why he needs each Porsche too.
Yeah.
Whoever has a rich dude with a huge watch collection, each one has meaning to him. That can't be the bar. The bar has to be, I get 5. Which are the best 5? The rest got to go, or whatever the number is, 6. What do you think where do you,
3.
really?
Yeah.
I think you need I'm gonna say you need 5 surfboards.
No.
Really? 3.
I mean, need?
Yeah, I'm
is
gonna say need 5. You need a high performance shortboard. You need a mid-length, I'll say. You need a grovelly shortboard, grovel day shortboard. There's 3. I guess you just need 3.
I don't need a high performance shortboard and I don't need a mid length. I can get away with a twin fin. I can get away with 2. I can get away with like a fish twin fin, and I just got like a 6'6" dead kooks twin, yin yang twin. That thing's a utility knife. I could surf it in overhead waves. I could surf it in small waves. It rips, it gets barreled.
I get the utility of surfboards, except I'm going to argue that every surfer does need a high performance thruster. Even Devin Howard himself has a high performance thruster in the garage.
So ultimately, just as a general statement, I stand by what I just said too. But if you did fish, high performance thruster, and something in the mid range, that's your 3 board quiver. You could go anywhere on any surf trip. I mean, look, other than people who are trying to get barreled at backdoor or go surf Waimea or something like that,
you're right.
For every standard surfer, those 3 boards will get you through any surf trip.
So, and I hate to tell this to our dear listener, I've got to go look in my garage today too. I've got to go have a hard conversation with myself standing at the surfboard rack. It is a collection. It is your surfboard collection.
And as I thought about this, listeners, barrel or not, it's collecting is a malady of it's a psychological something.
Yes.
There's something in your youth that is making Jerry Seinfeld buy all those Porsches. You know what I mean? Like he either loved a Porsche intensely when he was young or didn't have access to something that he craved when he was young. And now this is manifesting later in life and he's indulging it because I guess what's the harm? But realistically, it's not beneficial. And I think it is reflective of that slippery slope of like, you're never going to fill the void. You're just going to keep pouring into it. And there's probably better things to do with your time. There's definitely better things to do with the money. Like, it's not good.
I mean, yeah, no. Like if I would say 3, is a pretty good number for anything. If
All of it.
Jerry Seinfeld had 3 Porsches, his 3 favorite ones, and you could swap them out, right? You can, okay, this one's, I want this one now, but that means I got to sell this one. Fine and good. 3 Porsches, 3 Beanie Babies is good. If you have 3 of them, they're like, these are the most special. But, you know, I can get another one, but then I got to kick one out. You were right. 5 is too much. 3 is the right number for any collection.
3 watches.
Yeah.
You got like an everyday wear, a dress watch, maybe one that's leather, one that's steel, you know, or whatever. 3 is the right number for all of this. And I would argue Jerry Seinfeld would enjoy those 3 more than he enjoys 3,000.
That's what I would think too, because you actually know those 3. 3,000 is too many to know. Like I guarantee, yeah, I've heard tell of Jerry's Porsche collection, which is, it's got to be in the hundreds, right? He doesn't even probably know what he has. He has to go look at a catalog. Oh yeah, that one. He doesn't remember them.
Totally. I'm going to look it up real quick, see if the internet knows. How many Porsches does Jerry own?
Along this line though, if you're collecting chins, you only need 1 chin, I think.
What's his name has 2 chins. Idolo, it's like one over here and one over here. Okay, it says Jerry's car collection includes over 150 vehicles and around 43 Porsches.
Okay, so 43 Porsches, but still 143 vehicles, 43 Porsches. I wonder, Jerry Seinfeld, I bet cannot go and name each Porsche he has off the top of his head.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. How many cars does Jay Leno have?
Ooh, Jay Leno has got to be like, I'm going to say 320.
That's an unbelievably good guess because he has 180 cars and 160 motorcycles, which I think is exactly, it'd be 340, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Jay Leno, did you see Jay Leno fall down recently?
I saw his bruise.
Jay Leno is he was, I feel not that long ago was it a motorcycle wreck or a car wreck?
Yeah, I think motorcycle maybe.
Yeah, and I think something fairly serious, hospital and whatnot. And this one, did you read the story about how he fell down?
No.
Speaking of adults falling down, I guess, in our forgotten
celebrities in the wild, now celebrities falling down.
Falling down. He was staying at a hotel on a hill. I think it was in Los Angeles.
I think it was Rhode Island. I thought Newport, Rhode Island, I want to say.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he was staying in a hotel on a hill. Went to the desk person and said, where's a restaurant? They said, it's down at the bottom of the hill, but it's like I think like a mile or something. You know, you might want to get a car. And he's like, I got this. I'm going to walk. So he stepped out onto the hill and apparently fell down and rolled down the entire hill.
It probably got there quicker.
Yeah.
I mean, the bruise on his face was massive, right?
Yeah. No, he rolled down the entire hill and hit his head along the way on various objects in the road. Yeah.
How is there no security footage of this?
There's got to be. We gotta ask 𝗃𝗃𝗃 for it if it was in fact in Rhode Island.
I mean, they've got cameras everywhere in Newport.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sad story for Jay, but glad he's okay. The guy is like incredibly resilient at his age. Coming back from motorcycle accidents, and I've never even heard of a fall like that. That's cartoonish.
No, I know. It was real funny.
Weird. But he's feeble-minded because of his collection. You know what I mean? Like that's an indicator of his feeble-mindedness and psychology.
Yep. Weirdo.
Okay. Well, good. Glad we solved it. Okay. Anything else to report?
That's it. Go subscribe to Noble Rot if you find it in your heart. Other than that, nothing.
All right. Go find Chaz on Instagram @TrashPros. Go ahead.
I suppose happy Thanksgiving to everybody, since we will be recording after Thanksgiving.
Unless they listen to Noble Rot on Monday, we'll see you then.
Boom. Come on over.
All right. @TrashPros, @Surf Splendor. See you on the internet. Until next week.
Keep work.
All right.